Yes, Siddharth, stay with us as we show these live visuals that are coming in as a splashdown is taking place after an 18-day mission aboard the International Space Station. That's the splashdown taking place, rather it has happened as we speak. Historic splashdown off California coast. The crew spent 18 days aboard International Space Station. Siddharth, for the benefit of our viewers, if you can talk to us about the process here on, that is right after the splashdown, because the 4 astronauts will now be spending 7 days in rehabilitation as they adjust back to life on Earth under the influence of gravity.
So just like any other long distance travel, space travel too has its own associated fatigue and things like that. But of course, it's not like, routine flights or long flights that we take here on Earth. Space flight is hard because the body has to work very differently in space. Think of human muscles. On Earth, all our muscles are active and all our muscles have to undertake maximum effort to move around, to walk, and to do all our basic activities. But in space, you're completely floating around, which means all your core muscles, be it the back muscles, be it the limbs, all of these muscles have to undertake minimum effort. So a prolonged stay in space would mean your muscles get a little weakened. Then our sense of balance, the fact that we are standing, the fact that we are moving around, all that is based on the fluids in our head, right? The fluids specifically in our ear. But once you go to space, all those fluids work very differently. And then once you get back to Earth, it takes time to adjust. You feel dizzy, you feel nausea, and you could also feel different other sensations. And it takes time to adjust. Sometimes once you come back to Earth, you often see the videos and photos where astronauts are lifted out. It's not that they're not strong enough, but the fact is it takes time for their bodies to adjust. So obviously they need somebody's support to lift them up from the capsule and then take them to safety. They say it takes a couple of days or maybe up to a week for them to start walking normally. And your muscles also work very differently. So because of that, any activity, precise activity involving muscles, including writing or typing, these kind of activities, they would need about a week to, get back and start doing it normally. And even driving also takes some time to readjust to. So there's a lot of earthly activities that they need to sort of start up from scratch, I would say, because they'll need to start doing it and then practice a little and then get back to normal. So obviously, which is why there is a 7-day period where they're closely monitored. All their health parameters are monitored. So, and we have to remember that Shukla and the 2 European astronauts who've gone are first timers, they're novices. Peggy Whitson, of course, is one of the most experienced astronauts in the world. This is not a great flight for Peggy because obviously it extends her record. But for Peggy, this is usual. She's gone on several flights like this. But for the 3 others, this is going to be crucial because their health will have to be monitored. It's their first time, and they'll have to get used to this because in future their respective countries have the plan that they'll have to be going to space repeatedly.
Yes, Siddharth, requesting you to stay with us if, for the benefit of our viewers, if you can elaborate once again on the key experiments that Shubhanshu Shukla and the others conducted, which primarily revolved around the study of space microalgae, that is to understand their potential to produce food, oxygen and biofuels. Siddharth.
While living aboard the International Space Station, there are very minimal resources. So on Earth, we have the luxury of having the food of our choice. But on space station, the food you get to eat is the food that you get transported from Earth. So every couple of months, you have a capsule carrying food and necessary, beverages and medicines and all that you need to survive in space gets transported. So this is a very expensive affair to spend millions of dollars to transport food and water and essentials to space every time. Of course, water is also recycled aboard the station. But the point is, there's no way you can literally grow something there in space and consume that. But when humanity is looking towards settling on the moon, settling on Mars, and there are large goals that, you want to stay far away from Earth and establish civilization on a different planet. That's when things get a little too complicated. That's when you'll have to start growing food in space or growing food on another planet. That's where all these experiments come in to try and figure out whether humanity can sustain far away from Earth. Think of Mars. If humanity were to, establish sort of a home or a base on Mars, then it would so happen that a single way trip to Mars from Earth would take about 6 months. So imagine waiting 6 months to get your food. It's not possible. So what do? You try and grow your own food. That's precisely what the astronauts are trying to do. They try different ways and means of growing sprouts, of growing some sort of edible bacteria, whether it's possible to synthesize this for a longer term and ensure that, these kind of options are available as we go forward.
Yes, and requesting you, Siddharth, to stay with us. For the viewers who are watching the broadcast from India, if you can talk to us once again about how this is a major milestone for India in more than one ways, given that Shubhanshu Shukla is the second Indian to reach, to be in space. Talk to us about that farewell message also that was given by Shubhanshu Shukla, where he said that it was 41 years ago that an Indian came to space, and he told us how India looks from up above. Siddharth.
Yeah, absolutely. He was responding to the lines that Rakesh Sharma spoke 41 years ago. He was, giving a different take on Sare Jahan Se Acha, that India continues to look as glorious and magnificent from above. But he also said that this is a fearless India, an ambitious India that he sees from up above. And he expressed his national pride on seeing his country from up above in space. And of course, what has changed over the last 41 years is that last time when Rakesh Sharma went, India's space program was barely 15 or 20 years old, because ISRO formally started in 1969 and Rakesh Sharma flew in 1984, which means barely 15 years into ISRO's existence. That's when Sharma flew, and human spaceflight was literally a dream come true for India at that point in time. It was undertaken because of the help of the Soviet Union. We flew on a Soviet rocket, we flew to the Soviet space station. Of course, that was a different era. But today what has changed is that Shukla has flown on a private mission, which means India had to pay, the Indian government had to pay for a ticket on this mission. And this mission is owned and operated by a rocket and a spacecraft made by a private company, Elon Musk's SpaceX. So the Falcon rocket he flew on is privately built and designed. Same way the Crew Dragon capsule in which they landed just now, that is also privately designed and built. So it's a completely private mission. About even 2 decades ago, human spaceflight was all about government and government investment and government hardware. But now things have changed so much that a private company is able to do this completely. And there's also a mediator like Axiom, which comes in like a travel agent. And Axiom is able to mediate, provide training, and also get us a seat on board. So this is how things have changed. And for India in 1984, we did not have a future space program. In the sense, we did not have a program of or a plan of sending astronauts to space, because in 84, we did not even have heavy rockets. We had very basic rockets. But today, India has a reasonably good rocket. India has a rocket which has the capability and is being developed or modified to take humans to space. It's the GSLV Mark III or LVM-3 rocket. It's being modified as we speak. So this rocket now, perhaps by the end of this decade, will carry Shukla and his 3 other astronauts to space and bring them back. Just like what we saw now, they would be landing off the coast of Andhra Pradesh, perhaps off the coast of Sriharikota once they come back from Gaganyaan. So
yes,
that's what India is looking.
You to stay with us, Siddharth. I'm sorry, I'll have to request you to stay with us. Let's cut across to Dr. Jitendra Singh, who's speaking right now.
Today, indeed, Bharat has found an enduring space in the world of space. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And as you all know, the chronology of it that would follow, all of them would be in the quarantine for over next 1 week, maybe up to 23rd. Then from 24th onwards, they would be having team discussions with the experts from the ISRO. Then for the next 3-4 days that will continue, after which they would be spending time having separate discussions with the representatives of Axiom, representatives of SpaceX, and representatives of NASA separately. That's called debriefing. And after that is accomplished, which would go on for about maybe nearly 2 weeks, till about 12th or 13th of April, then they'll start preparations for returning home, in case of Shubhanshu to return back to India. So that could be around 14th or 15th, the preparations will begin. And as of now, we speculate that he should be with us over here on the 17th of August. Sir, Hindi में जैसा मैंने कहा कि विश्व के लिए ये गर्व का पल तो है ही है, भारत के लिए एक अद्भुत आनंद का पल कि भारत मां का एक सुपुत्र आज कामयाबी से लौटा है एक ऐसे प्रयोग से. The very excitement that is seen among the media persons here is itself indicative of what it is all about. I don't think you've seen such a excited media ever in Delhi. You agree with me? So that.
All right, so as we speak, those are the visuals on your screens of the dramatic splashdown in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. This is after an 18-day mission aboard the International Space Station. And as we speak, the excitement that is palpable in India with Shubhanshu Shukla, who's become the second Indian to reach the space. Let's go across to Siddharth again, who continues to be with us. Siddharth, we were discussing about the experiments that were conducted by the Axiom-4 team in the space. Talk to us about how the study is going to get configured here on, not just by the NASA, but even by the ISRO.
For ISRO, in fact, which is an agency which is just getting into human spaceflight or just getting introduced into the world of sending humans to space, these experiments are crucial because, there is also a specific format and a specific scientific manner in which these experiments have to be packed. They have to be carried in space. They have to be stored. Even this process is a learning. So when India, sends its own astronauts as part of Gaganyaan to space, how these experiments were carried out, how they were packed, how they were stored, how they were sealed, how they were unpacked, how they were done in space, all of this serves as a very valuable learning experience for Shubhanshu Shukla and so many people back here in India who are the academia and who are the kind of scientists who worked on these projects. So this is not just about one mission. Axiom-4, in Shubhanshu Shukla's words itself, was more like a stepping stone or more like a small step towards India's own human spaceflight program known as Gaganyaan. And as for a lot of these experiments, let me also mention about Indian space food that was tried and tested in space. Basically, when you travel to space, you've got to carry your own food and water and essential supplies. So even there is a separate science to make food for space-like conditions. And that particular food that ISRO intends to send with its astronauts during Gaganyaan, a part of that was sent to the International Space Station and they had a chance to try it. In fact, the multilateral crew on board the space station got to try. So Shukla carried some parts of mango juice and a little bit of gajar halwa, sweet, and moong dal halwa as well, again sweet. So these dishes were also served for several other astronauts aboard the space station. And this was more like a real-time learning experience because they wanted to test how good the Indian manufactured space food is, because this is what Indian astronauts will be consuming when they go as part of Gaganyaan. Of course, these are more like sweets and juices and desserts, but there's also main course meals that Indian government labs have been preparing. So even this has been to some extent tested in Axiom-4 because space food forms a very crucial part of a space mission, because all the nutrients, all the energy and supplements that they should get should be through this food and whatever other medicines. So space food also plays an important role. And that's what Shukla also got to try out Indian-made space food in this particular journey. So did the other astronauts aboard the space station.